Greetings builders, Daniel here and welcome to the third part of my top 12 builds for the Settlers of Kalguur League. If you missed the previous parts, don't worry, you can find our links together with the POBs and complete guides for all those builds in the video description. And if this video helps you, please leave a thumbs up to support the channel. Thank you very much and let's get into it! Let's start with this classic minion build that is like having fireworks on your screen. The Mage Skeletons Guardian with the Templar class. I'm sure you all remember that to transform our regular skeletons into mage ones, we used to need a unique jewel called Dead Reckoning. Well, that's changed because of the new transfigure gems. Now, we have the Summon Skeletons of Mages gem that naturally summon mage skeletons without the need of any mandatory unique item and for a much lower price. This means that mage skeletons become an even better starter than before. To list the pros of this build, I would start with survivability. With the Guardian Ascendancy, you get almost 75% chance to block attacks and spells, a huge life regeneration, and the new Sentinel of Radiance that takes 20% of the damage for you. All of that combined with the fact that this is a minion build that is very safe to play, because you stay behind your minions and they can kill enemies from a big distance. Also, with the new Elemental Relic, you and your minions get 3 damage auras totally for free, resulting in a great boss damage. Now, to list the cons, I will start saying that Mage Skeletons don't move, they feel more like a totem build. For that reason, you need to keep resummoning them while clearing maps. The Guardian Ascendance also doesn't get a speed buff from Flash Offering like the Necromancer, so it's a little bit slower. Above all, when comparing to the Necromancer, this version also doesn't get that awesome 30% to all elemental resistance for you and your minions. This might cause your zombies and specters to die from elemental damage if you don't look for minion resistance on your rare gear. As for budget, this build is cheaper than ever. You can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 50 chaos. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, I recommend investing around 120 chaos, and for easily completing your Atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines, but you can totally do it with less. Don't forget that on PoEbuilds.net you can find a list with all the equipment that you need to buy for this build, with direct links for examples being sold by other players. For clear speed, I'll give it 8 out of 10. You have many skeletons firing many projectiles at a high cast speed rate. I took 2 points out because the mage skeletons don't move and you need to keep resummoning them, and also because the Guardian does not get the Flash Offering speed buff like the Necromancer. The boss damage is also amazing and deserves 9 out of 10. With the new returning projectile support gem, 100% of projectiles will hit enemies twice, but since it's not as powerful as the nerfed anomalous faster projectiles, I took 1 point out. For the survivability, I'll give it 10 out of 10. This build has a big load of defensive layers such as high armor, 75% chance to block attacks and spells, a minion that takes 20% of the damage for you, and since it's a minion build, you are far from danger all the time. Now let's take the previous build to another level and make the Archer Skeletons Guardian with the Templar class. I'm pretty sure that at this point you all know the very popular Mage Skeletons build. Well, with the new transfigured gems, we now also have the Archer Skeletons, so I spent my weekend trying them out and I got this super fun build as a result. I hope you guys all enjoy it. To list the pros of this build, I would start with how balanced it is. Unlike the Mage Skeletons, this build has a much smoother clear speed and can do even more damage to bosses. This build also is not complicated to put together, we only need 1 mandatory unique item that is pretty cheap. Above all, as a Guardian, we still have 3 damage auras for free and a minion that takes 20% of the damage for us. Now, to list the cons, I'll start saying that even though this build is still very tanky and safe, it's not as tanky as the Mage Skeleton staff version because it has less block chance. But don't worry, if you mind your position, it will be hard for you to die. As for budget, this build is pretty cheap. You can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 80 chaos. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, I recommend investing around 150 chaos, and for easily completing your Atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines, but you can totally do it with less. You only need 1 mandatory unique item for this build, the Lion Eyes Vision Armor that already grants the peer support and allows us to have 1 more support gem for our skeletons. For clear speed, I'll give it 9 out of 10. We have many Archer Skeletons firing many arrows with high attack speed. And unlike the Mage Skeletons version that uses the spell Echo, here we can easily cast 4 skeletons at a time in different locations and increase a lot their angle of destruction. The boss damage is amazing, deserves 9 out of 10. As you can see on the gameplay, this build was capable of destroying big bosses in just a few seconds, even before the recent buffs. For this survivability, I'll give it 9 out of 10. As a minion build, you stay far from danger while they tank and kill everything for you. It's a very safe playstyle. But this build also counts with over 90,000 effective HP because of high armor, block chance, and a minion that takes 20% of the damage for you. I only took 1 point out because since we're not using this staff like the Mage Skeletons version, we end up with less block chance and effective HP. Finally, we have an amazingly strong endgame build, the Poison Raging Spirit's Guardian with the Templar class. This build takes advantage of the high number of Raging Spirits you can summon to stack an absurd amount of poison on our enemies. Originally, I was trying to build it as a Necromancer, but with the Guardian, we lose just a little bit of damage but get almost 3 times more survivability. To list the pros of this build, I would start with its boss damage. Once the build is complete, you are going to kill even the biggest bosses in just a few seconds. The survivability is also amazing, since we can have all the defensive layers of a Guardian on a minion build that is already very safe to play. Now, to list the cons, I'll start saying that this build isn't for everyone. You need a lot of currency to put it together. Another issue is that Raging Spirits have a short duration and you have to often stop to resummon them. As for budget, this build will need at least 10 Divine Orbs to put together. As I said, it's an expensive one. You need 4 mandatory unique items for this build. The first one is the United in Dream Sword that grants the Envy Aura for a big amount of chaos damage to our minions. It also grants them 60% chance to poison on hit. We also need the Darkness in Front Belt that has 2 Abyss Dual Sockets for us to achieve a 100% chance to poison on our minions. Next, we need the Covenant Armor that grants our Raging Spirits a level 29 aided chaos damage support. This means a lot more chaos damage. Finally, we also need the Ancient Skull that grants a huge damage and attack speed boost to our minions. For clear speed, I'll give this one 9 out of 10. Even though we have many fast minions that destroy everything in seconds, they have a short duration and need to be resummoned all the time. That's why I took 1 point out. The boss damage totally deserves 10 out of 10. You easily end up with over 30 million DPS that is more than enough to decimate every boss in the game. For the survivability, this one is surely a 10 out of 10. As a minion build, you already stay far from danger, but with this one, you also count with many defensive layers from the Guardian Ascendance that grants this build the amazing amount of 250,000 effective HP. And that's it for today, guys. Please check the video description for the other 3 parts of this top 12 Settlers of Kalguur builds. And as always, don't forget to tell me your thoughts in the comments and leave a thumbs up to support the channel. I wish you guys an amazing day, and don't forget to keep building!